Pay attention to this location. This is Middle Creek, a shallow stream behind a farmhouse near Cygne, Kansas, 3 feet deep at its deepest. You can see the bottom throughout. In the spring of 2004, professional search teams conducted 6 separate searches of this property and this creek. They used cadaver dogs. They used Kansas Highway Patrol helicopters. They sent in an underwater dive and recovery unit. More than 40 officers walked shoulder to shoulder across every inch of this land. They found nothing. On May 1, 2004, the family of Alonzo Brooks was finally given permission to search this same property. They came in orange vests, more than 50 of them, family members, friends, community volunteers. Most had never investigated anything in their lives. Within 90 minutes, they found his body, on the bank of this creek, exactly where 6 professional searches had cleared. His wallet was dry, the papers in his pocket still had legible writing, and his skin, after supposedly lying on this creek bank for 27 days, appeared, in the words of his brother, intact and full of life. Alonzo Brooks had not been lying on that creek bank for a month. Someone put him there, and someone who was in Cygne, Kansas on the night of April 3, 2004, knows exactly what happened. To understand how Alonzo Brooks ended up on that creek bank, we need to go back to where this started. The year is 2004, Gardner, Kansas. Alonzo Tyree Brooks is 23 years old. He works as a custodian for Countryside Maintenance, the company run by his stepfather, and he lives with his mother in this small community about 50 miles north of where we just were. Gardner is quiet, rural, a significant shift from Topeka, where Alonzo grew up, where everything was closer and louder and more familiar. Everyone who knows him calls him Zoe. He irons his pants before wearing them. He wears red and black whenever he can, and he is almost never without a beanie. His signature, the thing people picture when they picture him. He had a life plan. Land, animals, maybe farming. He knew what he wanted it to look like. He is the youngest of 5 children. His mother called him her baby, and she meant it. He always came home. Athletic, football, basketball, karate, and he has a specific way with people when he meets them. He walks up and offers you something, gives you a beer, makes you feel like you were already his friend. His mother raised him. She would know.
To the night over anyone's house. He always was the type of person that wanted to go home to his own bed.
And on the night of April 3, 2004, her baby is going to a party. His lifelong best friend, Rodney English, hasn't been invited. Rodney is in Topeka. The two of them grew up together, building bike ramps, playing King of the Hill on compost piles, running around all afternoon with nowhere specific to go. They are brothers in everything but blood. But tonight, Rodney isn't there. Rodney won't know anything is wrong until the next morning, when the call comes. Alonzo's older brother Billy thought their mother protected him too much. Not because he didn't love him, because he did, and he wanted his brother ready for the world. Billy is the kind of man who expresses love through roughhousing, through showing up, through being hard on you, because the world is harder. He and Alonzo played rough, and their mother always stepped in. That was the dynamic. A few weeks before the party, Alonzo sprains his ankle playing basketball. He manages it the way you do when you don't have time to stop. 2 socks in his boots, 1 rolled down for extra ankle support. He has been walking on it. He is fine. But he has made a specific, deliberate arrangement to keep himself comfortable. That night, Alonzo puts on jeans, a t-shirt, a sweater, his skull hat, his boots. He has his wallet, his movie card, his bandana, cash, some papers. He gives his mother a hug. He kisses her. He tells her he will see her that night. That is the last time she sees him alive. It's April 3, 2004. The party is a send-off for someone heading into the military, held at a farmhouse about 50 miles south of Gardner, at the end of a long driveway through open fields and woods. The kind of driveway that tells you, early, that you are far from anything familiar. Alonzo arrives in good spirits, more outgoing than usual. He approaches people outside and offers a beer. His friends notice it. He seems genuinely happy. He wants to have a great night. The party has somewhere between 30 and 50 people, with possibly more cycling through over the course of the evening. The crowd is overwhelmingly white. Alonzo is one of the very few people of color there. Cygne and the surrounding area carry a documented history of racial hostility. Sometime during the evening, an exchange turns hostile. words with racial overtones. Alonzo is the target. Daniel Fune steps between them. Alonzo decides to let it go. He has come to have a good night. He is not going to let one moment take that from him. Daniel Fune, his gardener friend, the one who did what a good friend does, stepped in. The moment passed. The party continues. It's approximately 11 p.m. Daniel Fune and Tyler leave for a separate event. Justin and Alonzo remain. It's 1 a.m. Justin is out of cigarettes. He tells Alonzo he is going to drive out quickly to buy more. Alonzo asks him to bring some back. Justin leaves the party, planning to be gone briefly. 30 minutes down unfamiliar country roads, Justin realizes he is lost. He calls a mutual friend named Adam, who is still at the party. He explains the situation. He asks Adam to let Alonzo know what happened, and to make sure he gets home. Through the phone, from somewhere inside that farmhouse, Justin can hear Alonzo in the background, laughing, giving Justin a hard time for getting lost on country roads in the middle of the night. Justin has said since then that if he had never left that party, Alonzo would be alive. Justin decides not to try to find his way back. He drives home. That is the last time anyone who knew Alonzo heard his voice. At some point before the party ends, Adam and Alonzo miss each other. Adam concludes that Alonzo must have caught a ride with someone else. He hadn't. Sunday morning. One of Alonzo's friends calls Maria Ramirez to ask if he made it home. She goes to his room.
I knew something was wrong because Alonzo didn't call or... That's not like Alonzo.
She calls his friends, one after another. No one has seen him since the party. His aunt, Angela Ramirez Cox, understood the same thing Maria understood.
He never stood the night over anyone's house. He always was the type of person that wanted to go home to his own bed.
And Maria Ramirez, who has been waiting her whole life for exactly this kind of wrong feeling, is not going to wait 48 hours. She reports her son missing to local authorities. She is told she must wait. 48 hours must pass before a formal missing person report can be filed for an adult. Billy Brooks Jr. and his wife Cindy don't wait. They drive to Cygne. They find the farmhouse, a rental property at the end of that long driveway, and they look in the windows. The interior is undisturbed, clean, quiet, no evidence of the night before. They meet with the Lynn County Sheriff. The sheriff has a theory. Alonzo was probably just walking around, because that's something people just do. His shoes had already been found in a field without him. Justin drives Rodney English and a group of others out to the farmhouse that same Sunday. The property is empty, pristine. No cups, no bottles, no evidence that a party had taken place there the night before. The farmhouse looked abandoned. They spread out across the surrounding land in search, directly across the road from the farmhouse driveway, not along any path Alonzo would have walked to get somewhere, but in an open field, they find his skull hat. And his first boot, his signature hat. The boot that covered the ankle he had been managing for 2 weeks, with a two-sock arrangement specific enough that his friends knew about it. Further along the creek bank, on the same side as the house, the second boot. Rodney English, who has known Alonzo his entire life, who came without being asked, who drove 50 miles because waiting at home wasn't something he was going to do, looks at where those items had landed. They hadn't fallen. They hadn't been set down carefully by someone pulling their boots off before they walked somewhere. The location, the distance between the two boots, the position of the hat, it all pointed in one direction. They looked thrown, like they came from a moving vehicle. And then a man arrives on a four-wheeler. He tells the group to leave. They comply. That man has never been publicly identified. The case is transferred to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. The KBI launches a full search operation. 6 separate searches. Evidence recovery teams, cadaver dogs, Kansas Highway Patrol helicopters, an underwater dive and recovery unit, more than 40 officers going shoulder to shoulder through every inch of the property in Middle Creek. The dive team descended into Middle Creek. They reported that the creek never exceeded 3 feet in depth. They could see the bottom throughout their entire search. They found no body. The FBI joins the investigation on April 10th. They make their position on the case public.
Both Alonzo's mom and the FBI think he was a victim of a hate crime. They say he was one of a few black people at a mostly white party, and they also said there were racist comments made at that party.
The FBI confirming racist comments at a press conference on camera. The family had been saying this from the first phone call. Alonzo's sister Demetria traveled to Cygne to distribute missing person flyers. Some residents tore them down. For 3 weeks, Maria Ramirez called the sheriff's office every single day. She was eventually told to stop calling, that the office would contact her if anything changed. Some of the partygoers agreed to take polygraph tests. Others declined. The official theory, offered repeatedly to the family as explanation, was this: Alonzo Brooks got drunk, removed his boots, and tried to walk home barefoot down country roads at 2 a.m. This was the man who had wrapped his ankle in 2 socks and tightened his boots because the ankle couldn't take the pressure, who had made a deliberate, specific arrangement to stay on his feet, who his friends knew would never have walked away in the dark without his shoes. That man, the theory said, took off his boots and walked into the night. His boots had been found in a field, 27 days after he disappeared. The family was given permission to search. More than 50 people gathered that morning in orange vests. Family, friends, community volunteers. Most of them had never investigated anything in their lives. They had spent 27 days waiting for the system to find Alonzo. Now they were doing it themselves. They spread out across the property and the surrounding land, pushing through brush, calling out to each other across the fields. Search leader Karen Turner had no investigative training. She was a community volunteer who had shown up because the family needed people. Her group was working through heavy brush near a shed by the creek when she stopped. She looked out over the creek bank. She saw him. She radioed Alonzo's uncle Edward. Billy Brooks Jr. ran to his brother. He stood there in front of him and did not touch him. He knew the scene had to stay intact. Whatever had been done here, whatever had happened on this bank, or been done to bring Alonzo here, it had to be preserved. So he stood there, and he looked at his brother. What Billy saw was not what 27 days in a shallow creek should have produced. Alonzo's skin, in Billy's words, appeared intact, full of color. No discoloration, no bloating. No sign of the water damage that should have been undeniable after a month in May in Kansas. In Alonzo's pocket, his wallet, his movie card, a bandana, cash, papers with writing on them. None of it showed any water damage. The writing on the papers was still legible. And then Maria Ramirez, who had spent 27 days with the official record, saying her son had wandered off drunk, said what the evidence said.
Within an hour and you could say 36 minutes, they were out there, they found my son. That quick. That told me something right there. They were hiding my son. I know they were hiding my son.
The dive team agreed. The same underwater recovery unit that had descended into Middle Creek and certified it. No deeper than 3 feet, visible bottom throughout, no body. Later told the family directly, there was no way Alonzo Brooks had been in that water during their searches. If his body had been there, they would have found it.
And we knew in our heart, we knew it was murder.
The body was transported for autopsy. The pathologist who conducted that examination was Dr. Eric Mitchell, a Kansas forensic pathologist whose prior professional history had drawn scrutiny. Before coming to Kansas, he had served as chief medical examiner in upstate New York, where he was investigated for professional misconduct, including harvesting organs without family consent and improperly storing human remains. He was not charged with a crime. He was asked to resign. Whether that history bore on his work in this case has never been established. What his examination found: no penetrating injuries, no bone fractures, no signs of drowning, no blunt force trauma. The soft tissue around the neck, the tissue that would have shown strangulation, had been destroyed by decomposition and insect activity. It was impossible to rule it out. Cause of death? Undetermined. The Lynn County Sheriff briefly stated it was a murder. Then he walked it back. His revised position was that the body had probably traveled along the creek naturally. The dive team said that was not possible. Without a physical crime established on record, the FBI stepped back. The KBI, which had taken over the investigation, continued. And the family, excluded from every official update, called and called. The Brooks family didn't stop. Maria wore her son's face on a t-shirt to every interview. Angela Ramirez Cox answered every call that came in, maintained every tip line, kept the Justice for Alonzo Facebook page running through every year that went quiet. They carried him with them into every year that passed without an answer. In March of 2019, a letter arrived from the KBI for the Brooks family. The investigation had concluded. No evidence of a crime had been found. The case was closed. 15 years. Nothing. For 15 years, the Brooks family lived with a closed case, a KBI letter, and no answers. And then, in 2017, Angela Ramirez Cox's phone rang. It was a production team for Netflix. The family agreed to participate in a reboot of Unsolved Mysteries. Filming took place in 2019, the same year as it happened that the KBI formally closed the case. The timing was coincidental, the effect was not, and the FBI was paying attention. The same month the KBI sent its closure letter, cameras were rolling in Kansas. The federal investigation and the Netflix production were moving in parallel, each apparently watching what the other would do. The family had not waited for the system to find what it had been unable or unwilling to find. They had sought the one thing the official investigation had never given them, an audience that might include someone who was there. By the summer of 2020, the FBI had found a reason to move again. On June 11, 2020, the Bureau formally announced the case was reopened. The Department of Justice offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. And then, U.S. Attorney Stephen McAllister, the federal prosecutor for the District of Kansas, a man whose job is the law, stepped to the podium.
There are numerous reports from those who attended of fights breaking out during the party, sometimes described even as brawls. There are also reports of racist comments being made.
You need to come forward. You know, you've grown up now. It's time.
This was not Alonzo's mother. This was not an advocate or an analyst or a commentator. This was a United States attorney standing at a podium bearing the seal of the Department of Justice, describing what the FBI's investigation had established, on camera. The family had been saying this for 16 years.
And I know we will get answers this time. And I know I'll get justice. I just know someone out there knows what happened to my son.
On July 1st, 2020, the episode aired. Maria wore a shirt with her son's face on it. At least 3 credible tips came in. The federal investigation was now active, and with it came a question no one had been able to answer with 2004 technology. What, exactly, had the original examination missed? Alonzo's body was exhumed from Mount Calvary Cemetery in Topeka in July of 2020, approximately 16 years after he had been buried there. The decision to agree to an exhumation is not a simple one. To ask a family to allow their son, their brother, to be removed from the ground again, after one autopsy that found nothing, after 15 years of silence, after a letter saying the investigation was over, requires a particular kind of certainty. The Brooks family had it. They believed the truth was still in his body. 16 years later, 2 autopsies ahead of them, with a state letter saying nothing was wrong. They believed it, so they agreed. His remains were transported to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, to the Armed Forces Medical Examiner. Using forensic technologies that did not exist in 2004, the examiner went through everything. What the examiner found were injuries on Alonzo's body that could not be explained by decomposition alone. Injuries that required a cause beyond what time and nature and a creek bank would produce. Whatever those injuries were, the examiner concluded, they were caused by human action. Alonzo Brooks did not die in an accident. Acting U.S. Attorney Dustin Slinkard confirmed the finding publicly. The FBI pledged to spare no resources in pursuing the case. On April 5, 2021, Alonzo Brooks's official cause of death was changed from undetermined to homicide. It wasn't an answer, but it was, for the first time, the law acknowledging what the family had known since the morning of May 1, 2004.
I reached out to Othram, a company that specializes in forensic evidence, to see how medical examiner experts would be able to determine how a person died 16 years later. The director for case management, Michael Vogan, couldn't speak to this case, but says technology has advanced a lot the past couple of decades, allowing for more information to come from DNA.
If any of those items have been analyzed for DNA and there's a profile present that's not the victim's, so in other words, it's an unknown human DNA profile, they could potentially do the type of testing we do at Othram to figure out who that DNA belongs to.
The case is a confirmed homicide. The investigation is open. The science exists to identify whoever left biological material on Alonzo's belongings that night. What is needed is a name, and the decision of someone who was in Cygne, Kansas, to tell the truth. But for the family, April 5th, 2021 is not a finish line.
Every day, it's like reliving, it over and wondering what happened, who's responsible, looking for help, to try to help solve the case.
I hope that it will let the people out there know that we want answer and we need answer now. And I hope they just get around to everybody out there.
On November 16th, 2020, Unsolved Mysteries released an update. The FBI had uncovered a second party in Cygne. Same night, same town. A fight had broken out at that party, and when it ended, those attendees traveled to the farmhouse where Alonzo Brooks was waiting for a ride home. Consider the sequence. By the time this group arrived, if they arrived while the party was still going, Daniel Fune had been gone for hours. Justin had left. Adam had lost track of Alonzo. The rest of the partygoers had dispersed. Alonzo was alone, at a farmhouse in a rural community with a documented history of racial hostility. One of the only people of color in that town that night. And a group of people who had just come from a fight arrived at his door. The FBI has never publicly named who attended that second party. What remains is a question, not a mystery. We know what happened. Alonzo Brooks was murdered. We know what the body's condition proved. We know that the night didn't end when his friends left. What we don't know, what someone in Cygne could answer, is who was there when it ended. Alonzo Tyree Brooks was born May 19, 1980, in Topeka, Kansas. He ironed his pants before wearing them. He told his mother he would see her that night. He is buried at Mount Calvary Cemetery in the city where he grew up. He was 23 years old. Angela Ramirez Cox has answered every interview request, responded to every tip line inquiry, and maintained the Justice for Alonzo Facebook page for over 20 years. The family has not stopped. The FBI case remains open. The reward is $100,000. Someone who was in Cygne that night, at the farmhouse, at the second party, anywhere in that town on April 3rd, 2004, knows what happened to Alonzo Brooks.
And I know we will get answers this time. And I know I'll get justice. I just know someone out there knows what happened to my son.
Alonzo Brooks has been waiting 20 years for someone to tell the truth. So has his mother. She's still waiting.